I want to welcome everybody for watching this today and being a part of this interview with Amy. We're very happy to have her here and to kind of talk about her family and about her children's conditions. So Amy, welcome. How are you doing?
Tired, but okay.
Nervous?
Yes.
Well, listen, don't be nervous because this is only going to be seen by several million people. So don't worry
Thanks
about
for the reassurance there.
that. Well, Amy, so tell us a little bit about well, let's say you and Jason.
We got married in 2004.
Okay.
So we've been together 9 years, married 8.
Okay. All right. So married 8 years, and in that 8 years, you obviously have started a family, and your first Spencer. So
Mhm.
tell us about Spencer.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to tell. um, Typical, we had our expectations of first baby, the idea you're going to go in, you're going to have this little baby and you're going to come out and, be this little family. And his delivery was rough. And then 5 days of testing and being hooked to this, I couldn't really hear him cry. And day 5, I had been rooming in because I was breastfeeding, and they sent us, I sent my husband home that night, and I told him, hey, go to work, come back, by the time you get off, he'll be circumcised, ready to go home. They woke me up at 8:30 that morning, and I was a young mom, I was 23. I had 2 doctors standing on either side of my bed and asking me what NICU I wanted him transferred to. And at that point, I had no idea what a NICU was. They couldn't tell me why they were transferring him. They just told me that if I couldn't make a decision and they couldn't have him out of there in the next 30 minutes, that they were going to air life him. So it was
Wow.
pretty
So
scary.
were they not telling you what was wrong, or did they not
No,
know what was wrong at the time?
I don't think they really knew because from the day he was born, we went through, oh, it's meningitis. No, it's juvenile diabetes. No, it's this. No, he's fine. You know, no, it was just a rough delivery. We were told multiple different things, and none of them wound up being right.
So what ended up being the right diagnosis, and what does Spencer have exactly?
Okay, well, it's kind of a complicated deal because he was born with an H-type tracheoesophageal fistula. So
Okay.
if you could imagine a capital H,
Uh-huh.
one side being your esophagus, the other side being your airway,
Okay.
and then the brace in between was a connection between the two.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So the H type. So what you're saying is you have your esophagus and you have your trachea, right?
Right.
And then there's a connection between the two. Is what you're
Right.
saying? Okay.
Right.
And that's obviously abnormal. Is that correct?
Right. Which basically meant that acid could come up from his stomach and go get in and get into his lungs, and then air from his lungs could go down into his stomach.
Okay. Okay. And so with that H type fistula, um, you know, which fistula, just so everybody knows, is really a hole that's not supposed to be there.
Right.
And so in this case, this hole was not supposed to be there, but it was also connected to a place it was not supposed to be as well.
Right.
So, with that being said, what was the diagnosis exactly? What were they trying to do with your son, and what did they tell you needed to be done?
They were still it took them a little while, and it was actually an EMT that found it. And then, of course, then it started, oh, well, we need to operate, we need to fix this.
Uh, well, as a new parent, how did that make you feel? Obviously seeing your child there.
Horrified. Up to that point, really had very little hospital experience. You know, I think at that point I'd probably stepped into a hospital a handful of times. Never, well, only once when my grandmother passed away was in an ICU unit. and even that was fairly mild compared to what we were watching.
Right. Right.
You know, tubes, and we had umbilical lines, and they had the repludge, however you say it. I always mess that word up. But essentially, for the first week of his life in the NICU, he had the looks like an NG tube placed down his esophagus to keep all the air and bile, air from going down into the stomach and bile from going back up into the lungs. It was set to a low suction so it kept things basically in the place that they needed to be.
Hmm.
And then, of course, we had the oxygen and all of that.
So, is that... So, okay, so make this straight. This is 2 different conditions that you've talked about. Is that correct? Or is it...
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that the only 2 conditions that he has?
No. He has, like I said, he has severe reflux. He's actually sitting here with me. You really need to go to bed.
You can tell him wave and say hi.
Say hi, Spence.
Hi, buddy. How you doing?
Hi.
Say hi, Matthew.
You can't hear me, I guess, but I just say
I'm
hi.
here. Look.
Hi.
How's it going, buddy? My name is Matthew. Hey, has your mama told you about me?
No.
A little bit. He
A
doesn't
little bit.
remember so well.
Well, that's fine. We'll obviously get to know each other better over the next few months. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Say nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, you about to go to bed?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, make sure and get some good sleep, and that way you can enjoy the whole weekend. Okay?
Okay.
All right, buddy. Good night.
Good night.
Go crawl in my bed. Go on.
I love you.
I love you too, buddy. Go crawl.
All right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
tell me about the other. You had 2 conditions. Tell me about the third. You said the reflux.
Right. So the idea with the G tube being in place is if we allowed him more time to grow, that would enable him to his motility to improve.
Okay.
And so they thought that once we put the G tube in and controlled the reflex, that he had what they called stridor. He basically squeaked when he breathed.
Okay.
And that's the stridor did not improve with the reflex surgery, and that's when they took him back and did another bronchoscopy to find out that his airway was compressing. So he also has severe tracheal malacia. Best illustration I can give for that is: have you ever had a milkshake that was a little bit too thick?
And then it crushes the straw.
It crushes when you suck the straw. Yes,
Yeah.
his
Great
airway
analogy.
does that.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was kind of figuring. Is it seemed like the walls maybe have been too thin or something like that, which is causing it to crash. So.
Right.
So a total of 11 major surgeries this far, right?
Yes, sir.
And do we think there's going to be more?
Yes, sir. We have a muscle biopsy that should be taking place sometime within the next 8 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're looking for mitochondrial issues and also muscular dystrophy.
Oh, okay. Okay. And, well, obviously you'll have our prayers, and everybody who watches this, I'm
Thank
sure
you.
they'll be praying. And so that's Spencer. Other than that, tell me about him. Tell me about him. I mean, I mean, we know about his conditions, but tell me about him. What sets him apart and what makes him special?
Well, he's kind of my little medical mystery. He's teaching his doctors a lot. Like I said, we dealt with a TE fistula, and he's always been very happy-go-lucky, very easygoing. Just kind of taking everything in stride. We found out it's like almost like we turn around and there's another issue to deal with. Whereas most people would be pretty bitter. It's just, okay, what do we do next, with him? He likes music. He loves country music. Loves to sing. He loves his superheroes. We call him our Superman.
For more information about the journey, go to Shawn'sIronman.com.